the most common question that is being asked is that if he is such a great businessman, why did he hire Voldemort or the witch? I kind of like the witch. I sorry, the snake. Why did he hire the snake? And why did he give the snake so much favors to join the company? So a lot of people are very, very angry at him. So just let's remember that not a single great businessman has never committed a single mistake in their journey towards success, right? So no matter how good you are in what you do, you will commit a mistake. And some mistakes will be minor and some mistakes will be major. But the bigger your company becomes, the bigger that you become, then the bigger the mistakes and the consequences of those mistakes will be. And so, him, this is one of the mistakes. I'm sure this is not the only mistake that he's committed, but this is one of the most public ones. And it's really costing the company a lot. But it is nothing special in that almost all business, and not almost, but all businessmen in their journey towards becoming successful, they all made major mistakes. But also, just because we don't hear about the troubles of other companies doesn't mean that they don't have their own screw ups. Hive's biggest asset and liability is that they are very, very popular. So the things that are happening within the company, it gets talked about a lot. And that is all because of BTS. We know that, right? They have BTS, and so everybody's eyes are on them. So any kind of mistake that they make, it gets blown out of proportion. Any minor or major thing that they do, it gets blown out of proportion. So that's just something that happens. I'm not saying that he is totally innocent, but I'm saying it is a mistake. So that is for sure, that is his fault. It is a mistake, but it is a mistake that may be committed by everybody else. The other thing is that battles doesn't equal war. Just because, I mean, sorry, the snake, that just because the snake or Voldemort is able to do something or get something to her favor doesn't mean that she has won the war. She still has a lot of ways to go, and the trial for some of the lawsuits is actually the beginning of that, and we will talk about that later. So just because she gets something doesn't mean that that is it, that she's won everything. The other thing is for us to be able to judge whether or not Bang Shiyuk or anybody for that matter is a good businessman, we have to first ask ourselves, what is a great businessman for us, right? Like I hear this from a lot of people, um, that Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook, is a stupid person and that he's one of the worst businessmen ever. And that is just very hard for me to wrap my head around, because number one, he created Facebook. He made Facebook $1 billion company. So I'm not sure who you're calling stupid, and I'm not sure who you're calling a bad businessman for him to be able to build that from nothing. Basically, that for me is a great businessman. I hear a lot saying Elon Musk, this, he can't even, like, I just heard somebody from Twitter say yesterday, oh, he can barely run uh, a social media app. And I'm like, he took Twitter from negative to almost positive this year in less than 3 years of managing it. And you call that, and he created Tesla and all that. So if those things aren't great business for you, then I think you have to first ask yourself, what is a great businessman for you? What is a great business success for you before you're able to judge people on whether they are great or not? I think the main problem is that we often fuse the definition of what a moral thing to do is between, we often can't identify or distinctly identify which is moral and with what is business. We almost always mix the two. So for example, if you don't agree with what McDonald's is doing in their store, for example, many are saying that the chicken that they're actually using, they're not free range chicken, so those are breed just to be killed. Is that a good moral practice? Of course it's not, at least not for me. I thought I was gonna cough. So that is not a good, for me, that is not a good moral practice, but it is a great business practice because look at how successful McDonald's is. So don't mix the two, make a distinction. Money is not evil, it has no morality, it is agnostic, uh, and so is business. It's just business. So make a distinction. Like if you're looking at a businessman, even if you don't agree with his morality, even if you don't agree with how he's doing business, look at the overall success of a business. If you can distinctly identify which is which, then you're a step closer to becoming objective. Okay. Now let's look at what the other companies, head of the management companies are doing. For example, Lee Suman, um, is for me a great businessman. He's a visionary. In fact, I would consider him to be the father of K-pop in Korea because he actually created the training system that everyone else is actually using. So that is his brainchild. So he also introduced the role of each member, so having a visual, having a vocalist, a dancer, or rapper. He was the one who started that, and everyone adapted it. He also introduced the structure of the business structure in South Korea of management companies, where the management company actually owns everything. In the US, there's a different company for merchandise, a different company for a different label, a different distribution company. In Korea, everything is under one company. You're a label, you're a PR company, you're a marketing company, a merchandising company. That business structure he actually created. He built SM, it's a giant company now, and he broke into the Japanese market. Say what you want, but it was BOA and TVXQ who actually first made it big in Japan. And if it wasn't for them, who knows how long Korea will take to be able to break through that market. That for me is success. But he also trusted his nephew, who stabbed him in the back, stole the company from him, and look at what happened and what is happening in SM right now. But that one major mistake that he made, for me, isn't enough to discount the success that he is. I still consider him to be a successful businessman, to be a visionary, and to be the father of K-pop. It's just that he trusted the wrong person. And I mean, who can blame? This is his niece his nephew we're talking about. So that again, he made one mistake. I'm sure he made many other mistakes, but this is one of the most fatal mistakes that he's ever had. Jin Young Park, JYP, which is the founder and the CEO of JYP, the company. He used to produce all the hits of almost all the artists under his company. The first time 2PM barely made it out of his grasp, when they started producing their own songs. Stray Kids is the only group he never was able to control in terms of creatives, but all the other groups under him, that is all under his control. He built one of the most, JYP is often called the friendliest management company in Korea. He was also the first one to introduce the concept of providing food, organic, that is, organic food in the cafeteria. That he introduced all of that. He actually was the first producer to send a group inside Billboard Hot 100. But then he also almost bankrupt JYP trying to penetrate the US market. And he has talked about that a lot because in that journey, Bang Si Hyuk was partly with him. So just because he almost bankrupt his company, does that make him a bad businessman? It does not. He made a mistake, almost cost him the same company that he grew, but it doesn't make him a bad businessman. Yang Yun Suk, a lot of people consider him to be morally questionable, but he launched the legendary groups Big Bang 21 and Blackpink, and now he's racing Baby Monster. From a startup, YG is now one of the top four agencies. No one can deny that. He managed to make the market believe his groups outperform all other groups, even when they are not true. Imagine that's how good he is. And then it leaked that he actually protects his idols who are drug users and criminals, and he himself is a criminal. Now, just because he's a criminal doesn't make him a bad businessman. He is just a criminal, but he's still a great businessman. So you do need to make a distinction between the two. Just because somebody is morally questionable doesn't make them a bad businessman. Just because you don't agree with the politics of someone doesn't make them a bad artist. Those are two different things. And that is the same thing for Bang Si Hyuk as well. He formed and produced BTS. A lot of people will not be happy about that because they don't want to ever give him credit, but that is the truth. He was the one who formed BTS and he was the one who produced them in the beginning until BTS was mature enough to actually take full control over the production of their own music. Formed a conglomerate in under 5 years. Who does that in this world? Not just in South Korea, but who does that in this world? And he consistently helps all of his groups to make it inside international charts. But he trusted Voldemort. Just because, or the snake, just because he did trust the snake or Voldemort doesn't make him a bad businessman. It just means that he made that one fatal mistake, and we hope that he learned from it. So just remember that the road to success is very, very hazardous. And in fact, in the grand scheme of things, if Bang Shiok actually manages to make true to his vision to make Hybe an international company just as big as Sony, Columbia, Republic Records, then this chapter with Voldemort or the Snake is just going to be a small bump 50 years down the road. Also ask yourself, what has Voldemort actually achieved? What has she really done? What has she taken away from Hybe and the groups under Hybe? Because if you really think about it, now that she has declared his intention to liquidate her shares, um, she said that she wants to exercise her put option. If this means that no matter what happens, the maximum amount that she will be able to get is about 20 million, even if the court says that, okay, you are actually allowed that this is valid, that the shareholders agreement is valid. She has already expressed her intention to liquidate her asset. That means that the maximum she will ever get is about 20 to 25 million. And then I think she owes Bang Shiok about 15 to 20 million. And so she's left with about 5 million. Even if that happens, that Hybe actually has to pay her 25 million. That is nothing compared to the overall piece that they are going to achieve. But she has not been able to break Les Seraphim, which was her number one target, specifically Sakura. They're thriving. Finally, their career in the US is taking off. They're starting there. They have managed to pay off all the debts that Source Music incurred from training the members of her group of what did we agree to call them, old shorts. Um, they have managed to get into Billboard Hot 100 and other international charts. Uh, I'll It has proven to be consistent in their international charts, in inside international charts. TXT, you just mentioned that they actually just surpassed BTS in one of the Billboard rankings. And then Hypen is about to embark on their tour to launch their next album. So there, she hasn't really been able to damage any of the groups, and of course, she hasn't been able to touch BTS because hello, we know the kind of success that they are experiencing right now. So, what has she really achieved? If you really think about it, the only thing she has been able to do is make Hybe spend on legal fees. But that is just part of the growth pains of a business. She has been able to drag the CEOs of different labels under Hybe. That is part of their job. It is part of their job to actually do the legal things, face the court, fight all of these people like her. So it's nothing new. But in everything that matters, she has not been able to do or achieve anything. So next time somebody says that, oh, that she has been able to drag Hybe or whoever, just laugh because once you ask them to actually support what they're saying, they won't be able to provide you with anything with substance because she really has failed. Yeah, actually, so Ice Rose, was it Ice Rose? Let me see. Oh, M actually made a very good point. Worst of all, she actually damaged the reputation and the career of New Jeans. And I don't know if that is in her bingo card, but that is what she did. She managed to destroy the reputation of new jeans, so of old shorts. So that's proof eternal that everything she has done so far she has actually missed. Let me drink. Okay, so TWS is running smoothly too. Bang Si Hyuk as chairman can reach out to. Oh, sorry, it's too fast. I think she's destroying bratty pants to break a door. I thought about that, Bang Luna. I initially thought, I was like, maybe she's using old shorts as collateral damage, just as so she can destroy the value of a door. But then on the other hand, I'm also thinking she should know that if she breaks or destroys old shorts, then she wouldn't have anything when she moves out of Hive, and she won't have any card with her if she destroys old shorts. So she needs them whole. She needs that IP because that is her card. That's her ace. That's her leverage. So I can't, like, there's a missing piece that I'm not seeing. Why is she so the only conclusion that I can come to is that she didn't see this thing. Like, she didn't plan this through till the end, that destroying old shorts was just something that she didn't plan.